What's up, everybody? It is Broken Havoc here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here to review AEW Rampage, the debut episode of AEW Rampage on TNT from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the same arena as Dynamite this past Wednesday, or I should say Brittsburgh, because it is Dr. Britt Baker D.M.D's hometown. So overall thoughts on this show. I really enjoyed this show. This show was awesome from top to bottom. This show was a short show. It was only an hour show, but I will say, from top to bottom, I mean, especially the first match of the evening, I mean, holy crap. I marked the fuck out. I will say that. This show was awesome. The crowd was hot. This show, again, I stated earlier, like as soon as the beginning of this video started, this show was awesome. And it, back in the days of TNA when Impact was 1 hour, Mike Tenay would always say, your 60-minute adrenaline rush is next. This whole show was definitely a 60-minute adrenaline rush because the crowd was hot, the matches were really good, and just, oh my God, the hype is there. The hype is there for next week because next week is going to be by far AEW's biggest show to date. Of course, before All Out and then before the New York Arthur Ashe Stadium show. But, I mean, next week is going to be huge. Forget about Dynamite. I mean, Dynamite is stacked next week in Houston. But next week on Rampage, dude, we got the debut of CM Punk. You know damn well CM Punk is coming next week. You know for a fact CM Punk is coming to Dynamite, to Rampage next week and going to be making his debut. I mean, they had a whole freaking video package hyping up next week's Rampage, and it did show that segment with Darby Allin name-dropping the best in the world. But man, this show, I mean, of course, we had Christian Cage beat Kenny Omega for the Impact World title. That was awesome to see. Fuego Del Sol, even though he lost, he still got a contract. And Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker D.M.D, retained her title against Red Velvet. Of course she was, because it's her hometown. I don't see her losing that title anytime soon. But before I get on with this Rampage review, the Broken Havoc podcast is going live next Saturday, right after SummerSlam. SummerSlam is going to be an awesome show. We had the face-off on SmackDown with John Cena and Roman Reigns, in which I thought was a really good segment. I will say that. Not as good as their segment way back in 2017 for their match at No Mercy, but it was an awesome face-off nonetheless. SummerSlam is going to be awesome. Of course, we got Seth Rollins versus Edge, John Cena versus Roman Reigns, and Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks. Those matches are going to kill it. I don't care about Goldberg and Lashley because we all know how that match is going to turn out. But SummerSlam, I will be going live after the pay-per-view here on YouTube and give you my thoughts on the pay-per-view. The same thing goes for All Out September 5th. I'm going to be going live right after the pay-per-view ends, so be on the lookout for those reviews. It's going to be awesome. The first time the Broken Havoc podcast is going to be live, so be on the lookout for those reviews on YouTube. And the first live stream is going to be next week on YouTube for SummerSlam 2021, emanating from Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium. Back with the Rampage review. This show started off with, of course, Christian Cage going up against the Impact World Champion, Kenny Omega. He's putting the Impact World title on the line in this show. The commentary team is Chris Jericho, Excalibur, Taz, and Mark Henry. It is a four-man booth. What are my thoughts on the commentary team? I thought it was a pretty good commentary team. Taz was really good. Excalibur, he's always good. Chris Jericho, a lot of people were saying he was screaming a lot, which I understand he was screaming a lot, and that was kind of annoying. But, Chris Jericho, for me, on commentary is really entertaining to listen to. I know it can be a little bit over the top, but I really enjoyed it. Mark Henry, nothing against Mark Henry. I think he's a little quiet, but I think he'll get used to the role. He was not on commentary throughout the entire show because he was, I believe, a backstage interviewer in the show and all that stuff. So he's going to be more of a backstage personality. I feel like he's going to be on commentary for at least one match, but he's most likely going to be a backstage personality for Rampage. But the commentary team was awesome. But the first match is Kenny Omega versus the instant classic Christian Cage. Outwork everyone. Overall thoughts on this match. This was a really hot opener. for Rampage. I did state earlier that, I'm not against Christian Cage winning the Impact World title because Impact needs anybody they can get. I mean, they already got Kenny Omega. Why not Christian Cage? Because Christian Cage has a history in Impact Wrestling. Back when it was TNA, of course, he was a 2-time NWA World Champion, and TNA was the first promotion to actually push Christian Cage to be in the main event scene, because before that, when Christian was in the WWE, he was only looked at as a tag team wrestler and a mid-carder. But when he went to TNA, he instantly went to the main event scene. Of course, he beat Jeff Jarrett at Against All Odds 2006, and, he had a pretty good run for himself. But Christian Cage versus Kenny Omega. Of course, the referee for this match is Brian Hebner. He is the Impact referee for this match, so I like that they added the Impact referees for this championship match. It's kind of like what WWE does with Raw and SmackDown and NXT. They have their own referees. But this was a really hot opener to the match. The crowd was extremely hot in Pittsburgh. Awesome showing. The match starts. Both face off, then both proceed to lock up. We get a headlock by Cage. Then shoulder tackle by Cage. The crowd is just going ape shit. I mean, the crowd is definitely in favor for Christian Cage. And it really showed when he won the title. Like, the crowd just went crazy in Pittsburgh. So then after that, once Cage is in the corner and they break out, Cage proceeds to flip off Kenny Omega by giving him the middle finger, which was pretty awesome to see. We get a kick by Omega. Omega with a couple of chops. And there's a lot of chops in this match, by the way. Then we got a chop again by Omega on Cage. Omega tries to go for the one-winged angel, but Cage counters and tries to go for the kill switch, but Omega escapes on the outside. They get back in the ring. We get a stomp by Cage. Works on Cage. Cage with a couple chops into the corner. Omega takes Cage into the corner after that. We get a back elbow by Omega. Omega's on the outside. Then we get a drop kick by Cage on Omega. Then Cage proceeds to chop Omega on the outside. Don Callis tries to go for the distraction after that. Omega works on Cage during the picture-in-picture commercial break. During the break, we actually got a roll-up by Cage, but then, there was a kick out. Back from break, Cage then fights back because during the commercial break, Omega was most likely dominating the entirety of the match during the commercial break. But once we're back from break, we get a roll-up by Cage. No. Cage fights back, and then Omega regains control. Then we get Cage proceeds to hit a snap suplex counter. He counters with a snap suplex. Omega gouges after that the eyes of Christian Cage in the corner. Then takes Cage to the top. Omega with a chop. Cage fights back. Omega tries to go for a superplex, but Cage fights back. Again, a lot of back and forth going on in this match. Then Cage proceeds to hit a sunset flip and a power bomb on Kenny Omega by Christian Cage. By this point, the crowd was definitely in favor for Christian Cage. That was awesome to see. Then after that, Cage with repeated rights on Omega on when he was standing on the middle rope. Then works on Omega. We get a right hand by Cage. Then a back elbow from the top by Christian. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Cage tries to go for the kill switch, but Omega hits a back elbow. Then he tries to go for the You Can't Escape moonsault, but he hits it. Then we get a cover and a near fall. Cage counters Omega with a reverse DDT. Then we get a cover and a near fall. A lot of near falls in this match, especially near the end. We get a knee by Omega when Cage runs into Omega. Then after that, we get a powerbomb by Omega. Omega then hits the V-trigger on Christian Cage. We get a cover and a near fall. Tries to go for the one-winged angel, but Cage tries to fight back and escapes. Omega tries to go after that for the German suplex, but then Omega hits his knee onto the post when he was trying to run towards Cage. Then we get a spear by Cage. A little nod to his best friend, the Rated R Superstar Edge. Got a cover and a near fall. Then Omega hits the Snapdragon suplex and then hits another Snapdragon suplex on Christian Cage. Omega then tries to go for the V-trigger, but Cage proceeds to hit a right. He goes to the top, then hits a freaking frog splash. Then we get a cover and a near fall. That was a crazy near fall, and then the crowd went apeshit and they started chanting AEW repeatedly. Then after that, Don Callis is distracting the referee. Omega then hits the low blow after that. The Young Bucks come in. They slide a chair to Omega while the referee is distracted while Don Callis was right there, of course. The Weasel, as Tony Schiavone would say, Don Callis right there. So once they slide the chair, Omega tries to hit the one-winged angel on Cage, but Cage escapes, and then Cage hits the kill switch on Omega on the freaking chair. 1, 2, 3. Christian Cage is the Impact Wrestling World Champion. He holds both the Impact World Title and the TNA World Title. What a freaking moment. I went apeshit when this happened. I will say, the crowd in Pittsburgh went apeshit for this. This was awesome. I really enjoyed it. The crowd was just going crazy for Christian Cage. I went crazy too because I wanted Christian to win this match because of the fact that Christian has a history in TNA, and he was a freaking main eventer in TNA. So this makes the perfect sense, at least in my eyes. I really like that. I know a lot of people were kind of like disappointed because Omega lost. But, I mean, you know, he's going to be wrestling Andrade tonight at Triple Mania. Who knows what's going to happen? He may as well lose the AAA Mega Championship to Andrade El Idolo. So, who knows what can happen? But, I mean, this match was really good to see. I loved this match. You know, there was a lot of near falls in this match. And every time there was a near fall, the crowd was just on their feet for this match. And this was a really good opener for Rampage on TNT. Amazing match. We got a title change on the first Rampage on TNT. That is crazy. And not only that, the Impact World title was defended in the first match on Rampage. The Impact title. Yeah, TNA. You know, what a rub Impact Wrestling is getting now. First they got Omega as the champion. Now they got Christian freaking Cage. I mean, Impact's ratings are definitely going to be going up. Granted, they're on Access TV, but their ratings are definitely going to be going up. I will tell you that right now. That was awesome, man. Christian is the freaking world champion. I will be watching Impact this Thursday night on Access. I'm really excited to see what goes down because Christian hasn't been in Impact since 2008. Now, granted, he did make that brief appearance at Slammiversary in 2012, but let's be honest, his last run in TNA, his last like true appearance in TNA was in 2008. But yeah. Cage is backstage, back from break. We got a backstage interview. Says that he's feeling great. Oh, actually, no, I forgot to mention that the Jurassic Express and Scott D'Amore did come in the ring and celebrate with Christian Cage. So once the backstage interview starts, he says that he's feeling great and says that, you know, this little bit of the bubbly is cool. So a little nod right there to Chris Jericho. So that was awesome to see. Then he says he was going to win Kenny's titles and says that Kenny is the toughest man and says that it's going to be nearly impossible to beat Omega at All Out 4. The most coveted prize in professional wrestling, the AEW World Championship. Dude, you know, awesome to see Christian Cage be a world champion again. This is awesome. Like, again, I'm that type of person that, like, does not like legends, like, you know, winning titles in 2021. But I feel like with guys like Edge and Christian Cage, like, I wouldn't mind Edge being in the main event scene. You know, Christian as well. Christian is really good. I don't think he's like, you know, the biggest difference with AEW and WWE is the fact that when it comes to WWE standards, once they push a freaking legend, you know, the legend, you know, they just bury the young talent. But when it comes to AEW standards, like what we saw here with Christian Cage, I mean, you know, Omega's not a young guy. He's in his late 30s. I mean, in mid to late 30s. But I mean, come on now. Omega is the best in-ring wrestler in the world today. And Christian worked a really good match with Kenny Omega. And it was really, really good to see what happened in this match. Of course, they're going to kill it September 5th at All Out. I guarantee you that. It's going to be awesome to see. I'm excited. But yeah, Christian Cage is your new Impact Wrestling World Champion. I am definitely watching Impact Wrestling this Thursday. So I'm really excited to see what goes down because we got the Instant Classic coming back to the freaking Impact Zone. Now, it's not the Impact Zone in Universal Studios, but it's the Impact Zone in Nashville. So, yeah. We got the TNT Championship match with Miro versus Fuego Del Sol. Of course, Fuego Del Sol was on a losing streak on Dark. Now, I don't watch Dark, so... You know, I just don't watch Dark because it's just a lot. It's just too much content for me. But this was a short match. But I will say Fuego Del Sol was on fire before the match even freaking started. So Fuego goes for a tornado DDT before the match on Miro. And Miro sold him like $1 million. Then the bell rings. Then we get another tornado DDT on Miro. And by Fuego Del Sol. Miro escapes. And by this point, the crowd went apeshit for Fuego Del Sol. Miro comes back in the ring at 9. It looked like Fuego Del Sol was going to win via countout, but if he wins via countout, he's not going to win the title, but he will still win the AEW contract because if he won this match, Fuego Del Sol gains an AEW contract. Then all of a sudden, once Miro comes back in the freaking ring, what happens? He hits another tornado DDT on Miro. And then we get a cover and then a near fall. Then Fuego jumps off the top of the top rope, but then gets caught by Miro. Then hits the Bulgarian drop on Fuego. Then Miro hits a thrust kick on Fuego after that. Then, after that, what happens? He applies his submission, the rear naked choke. Literally, legitimately just choked the hell out of Fuego Del Sol. Fuego Del Sol tapped out within moments of getting into that submission by Miro. Miro wins and retains the TNT Championship in the second ever match on Rampage. What are my thoughts on this match? I feel like one of the reasons why this match went extremely short was because of the fact that, they didn't want to kill time because this is only a 1 hour show. But I will say, Fuego Del Sol was on freaking fire in this match. The crowd just absolutely went ballistic for Fuego Del Sol when he hit 3 tornado DDTs on Miro. Like, what the hell? You thought, at some point, I thought he was actually going to beat Miro for the TNT title. But, of course, Miro ain't losing that title at all. He's going to be holding on to that title for a long period of time. But then after the match, what happens? Miro rips up the contract. We go to commercial break. Once we're back from break, Fuego Del Sol is back from break. Left in the ring, my bad. And what happens is that Tony Khan, the owner of AEW, Tony Khan and Sammy Guevara come out. Tony Khan gives him a microphone and also gives him a contract. And what happens is that Sammy grabs the mic. And what happens? Sammy, right in the middle of the ring, says that to his best friend, Fuego Del Sol is all elite. Very emotional moment for Fuego Del Sol. Congratulations for Fuego Del Sol winning an AEW contract. Even though he lost the match, he really showed a lot in this match, especially before the match even started. I mean, he showed heart in that match. And, Fuego Del Sol was extremely emotional, and it was really awesome to see. So Fuego Del Sol is now going to be part of the AEW roster. So that is going to be awesome to see. We got Sting and Darby Allin on the frickin' Rafters on TNT. I mean, we haven't seen Sting in the Rafters in ages. We've seen Darby Allin in the Rafters, but we haven't seen Sting in the Rafters. So that was awesome to see. I thought that was pretty badass. I will say that. Then Mark Henry interviews both Britt Baker and Red Velvet before the match. Of course, both go at it verbally before their match. Of course, it was in a picture-in-picture type segment. But, of course, Tony Khan did not lie when he basically said, Mark Henry is definitely going to play a role on Rampage, and he's really doing it because he's going to be on commentary, but also he's basically going to be a backstage interview and analyst for this show. And, I think it's pretty good. I'm not really the biggest fan of Mark Henry, but I think he will grow on me in the weeks to come. I mean, I'm not really the biggest fan of Mark Henry. I will say that, but I mean, he's much better in the backstage role than in the commentary role. I feel like Taz, Excalibur, and Jericho work perfectly together as a 3-man booth. The 4-man booth, I'm not really the biggest fan of the 4-man booth, but hey, that's just me. But we got our main event of the evening. We got Britt Baker in her hometown of Brittsburgh, Pennsylvania, versus Red Velvet for the AEW Women's World Title. This match was really good. I really enjoyed the match. The ending was kind of weird to me because of the fact that we did get Jamie Hayder, who hasn't made an appearance on Dynamite since November of 2019. But I mean, when she came out, I mean, the crowd was just dead quiet. Nobody cared. But I will say, during this match, Red Velvet got booed the hell out of the building. And Red Velvet is the babyface and Britt Baker is the heel. But this is in Britt Baker's hometown of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So, I mean, of course Britt Baker's going to be getting cheered in this match because it's her hometown. But Red Velvet, every time she was getting offense during the match, she was getting booed by the crowd. So the match starts, both lock up, we get D.M.D. chants by the crowd, of course. She's Dr. Britt Baker, D.M.D. We got D.M.D. chants. Baker tries to go for the lockjaw, then tries to go for the final slide. Baker escapes. We get a takedown, side headlock by Baker. Velvet works on the arm. Then later on in the match, we get a slap by Baker and then a slap by Velvet. Then we get a near fall, a wrist lock takedown by Velvet. Then she did not stomp. But then, we get a cover by Baker. Near fall. Velvet works on the arm of Baker into the corner. We get an elbow by Baker, and then a leg lariat by Velvet. Once we get a standing moonsault after that by Velvet as well. Once we go to commercial break, Baker is in control. We get a takedown by Velvet. Rights and lefts by Velvet into the corner. We get a right hand by Velvet. Velvet counters a clothesline. We get a cover and a near fall. Baker counters and hits a swinging neck breaker after that. Roll through by Baker. We get a near fall. Tries to apply the lockjaw, but Velvet applies a roll up. We get a near fall. Velvet tries to take the glove off of Baker after that. Reba with the distraction. We get a roll up by Britt, but we get a near fall. Reba gets kicks out. We get a super kick by Velvet. Velvet goes to the top, hits a moonsault. The crowd hates it at this point. We get a cover and a near fall. Neck breaker by Britt Baker after that. We get a cover and a near fall. Baker hits the curve stomp. Jericho on commentary is like, that's a real curve stomp, so that was hilarious. Then after that, we get a cover and a near fall. Velvet tries to go for the lockjaw, which was dumb. And then Baker rolls through, tries to go for the lockjaw. Velvet targets the injured arm. Baker reverses it. Then finally applies the lockjaw on Velvet. Velvet taps out. Britt Baker retains the AEW Women's World Championship onto in her hometown in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. After the match, she hits a swinging neck breaker and then is about to go for the stomp, but Chris Statlander makes the save. Then Jamie Hayder comes in. Again, as I stated earlier, the crowd was freaking dead. Then Hayder aligns herself with Jamie Hayder. Britt Baker stands tall with the women's title at hand in her hometown of Brittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yes, I said Brittsburgh, and the show ends. What are my thoughts on this show? This was again, 60-minute adrenaline rush, as Mike Tenay would say. Amazing freaking match to see. This was an awesome show. Next week is going to be huge. I'm really excited to see, because we got CM Punk next week, so I'm really excited for that. Be on the lookout for my SmackDown review and my other reviews. This was an awesome show. This was AEW Rampage. Amazing show. I really loved it, and I'm definitely excited for next week. This is going to be amazing. I'm so stoked for what's going to happen next week. But yeah, please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications. And this is Broken Havoc from the Broken Havoc Podcast, signing out.